will begin with the presentation of the colors by the Arlington Police and Fire Honor Guards. If you're able, please rise. At this time, we invite the Boston Skyline Chorus to present our national anthem. Honor Guard, post colors. Please be seated. I would like to now invite Father Mark Bishop, pastor of the Catholic Collaborative of Arlington, to open with the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, on this Memorial Day we gather in humble gratitude for all the sacrifices of the men and women of our armed forces that they've endured to ensure our freedoms. Those that have died deserve our gratitude and honor. Please hold our servicemen and women in your strong arms. Cover them with your sheltering grace and your presence as they stand in the gap for our protection. We also remember the families of our troops, especially Gold Star families. We ask for your unique blessing to fill their homes, and we pray for your peace, provision, hope, and strength to fill their lives. May the members of our armed forces be supplied with the courage to face each day, and may they trust in the Lord's mighty power to accomplish each task. Let our military brothers and sisters feel our love and support. Lord of all nations, may we take time to reflect on the great blessings we share as a nation and as a people. Our blessings have come at a high cost to others. May we remember these sacrifices always with deep gratitude. We ask that you grant wisdom to the leaders of our armed forces. Guide and direct them in their decisions. May they be led by your will and your heart as they pursue our nation's freedom. We continue to pray for peace in our world. Lord, let your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Welcome again. To open our commemoration of Memorial Day, I would like to read the proclamation of today by the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. A proclamation. Whereas in the aftermath of the Civil War, communities across the nation gathered to honor the soldiers who had given their lives, marking the first Decoration Day. And whereas, following World War I, the nation again united to honor those who died in service to our country, renamed Memorial Day, the last Monday in May is a time to remember and honor the men and women who gave their lives in all American wars and conflicts. And whereas, throughout our history, thousands of Massachusetts residents have answered the call to serve, defending our nation, our freedom, and our way of life. And whereas their courage, sacrifice, and devotion to duty represent the very best of the Commonwealth and continue to inspire generations. And whereas we must pause to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice and recommit ourselves to honoring their legacy through service, unity, and gratitude. Now, therefore, I, Maura T. Healey, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim May 25th, 2026 to be Memorial Day, and urge all residents of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Chamber in Boston this 25th day of May in the year 2026, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 249th, signed by Her Excellency Maura T. Healey, Governor of the Commonwealth, Kimberly Driscoll, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth, and William Francis Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth. As Governor Healey's proclamation reminds us, Memorial Day is not only a time of remembrance, but a call to honor the legacy of those who gave their lives in service to this country through unity, gratitude, and continued service to one another. It reminds us that the freedoms we gather with today were preserved through sacrifice, carried forward by generations of Americans who answered the call to service. And here in Arlington, a community so deeply connected to our nation's history of service and sacrifice, that responsibility of remembrance continues to matter deeply. At this time, we are honored to be joined by Arlington's public officials, both elected and appointed, who are here today with us in a shared spirit and remembrance and service. We are grateful for their leadership and for their presence here today as they offer a few reflections and words of remembrance on this Memorial Day. At this time, I would like to invite Arlington Select Board Chair John V. Hurd to offer his remarks.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here today. I want to thank our Veterans Council, our new Veterans Coordinator, Robert Donovan, the Boston Skyline Chorus, and all veterans and veteran families that are participating with us today. It is an honor to be here with you all tonight. Last time I gave this speech was in May of 2020, and I gave it to a completely empty audience. So I'm happy to see faces staring back at me today. Luckily, since none of y'all were here, I can reuse some of that speech. Memorial Day is more than just the unofficial start of summer. It is a sacred day of remembrance, a time to pause as a community and recognize the extraordinary sacrifice made by those who wore the uniform of the United States Armed Forces and never came home. It is also a day to honor the families whose lives were forever changed by that sacrifice. Memorial Day is a deeply personal day for my family. My Uncle David, a graduate of Arlington High School, was killed in Vietnam in April of 1967. The loss of her son became a defining moment in my grandmother Millie's life. While David's life ended far from home, the impact of the loss stayed with her every day for the rest of her life. She carried that grief with quiet strength and and became a proud Gold Star mother, dedicated to honoring not only her son, but all fallen service members and the families left behind. Millie understood firsthand that when a soldier falls, the loss ripples through generations, affecting parents, spouses, children, friends, and neighbors, and entire communities. Today, we honor those visible sacrifices of war, but we must also recognize that not all battle wounds are visible, and not all military casualties occur on the battlefield. Many veterans return home carrying invisible burdens, trauma, depression, isolation, and the lasting effects of war and service. Too many continue fighting long after their military service ends. According to the Department of Veterans Affairs, roughly 17 veterans die by suicide each day, nearly twice the rate of non-veterans. These are not statistics alone. They are fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, friends and neighbors. As a nation and a community, our responsibility to veterans cannot end with ceremony and words of gratitude. We must continue reaching out, listening, supporting, and ensuring they know that they are never alone. This is why I want to warmly welcome our new Veterans Coordinator, Robert Donovan. After serving our country in the Army, he chose a career dedicating his life to supporting veterans and their families. We are truly fortunate to have him serving in our community. Today, we honor the courage of our armed forces, but we must also remember the responsibility carried by our nation's leaders. Our military will always answer the call to defend our country, but we must hope and pray that our leaders exercise wisdom and restraint when sending Americans into harm's way. Behind every deployment is a family waiting at home. Behind every folded flag is a lifetime of grief. And behind every name engraved on a memorial wall is a story, a future, and a family forever changed. So today, let us remember the fallen and the families who carry their memory forward, and let us recommit ourselves to building a nation worthy of the sacrifices made on its behalf. May we never forget them, and may we always honor them, not only with our words, but with our actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Hurd. Chair Hurd will be followed by Sean Garbali, our state representative from the 23rd Middlesex District.
Good morning. It is an honor for me to be with all of you here this morning. First of all, I want to thank our Veteran Service Director, Robert Donovan. Welcome to Arlington. Thanks so much for everything you have done for Arlington veterans, and thank you for everything that you will be doing. You know, under Mass General Law, every community across our Commonwealth has to have a Veteran Service Officer. And the reason for that is simple. They are closest to the people. They are closest to our veterans, and they act as a liaison to our cities, to our towns, to the state, to the federal government. And the power that you have is enormous in supporting our veterans. So as someone who is new to this position, I thank you, and I look forward to working with you. I also want to thank the members of our Veterans Council who have been working extremely diligently to try to finish this memorial, and the delegation and all of our elected officials in Arlington look forward to that becoming a reality very, very soon. I also want to thank our Gold Star families who are here and all of our veterans across the town of Arlington, specifically our veterans who are also public employees. We are grateful. Father Mark, thanks so much for you being here. Thank you for your blessing. Thank you for your service to our country as well. You know, we honor our veterans every day of the year across every zip code across this country. And it is so very much important and critical to support our veterans, as the chair of the select board said, for when it comes to employment, when it comes to health care, when it comes to housing and mental health. We do that throughout the year, as we should. But today is a different observance. Today is about honoring the men and women who never came home. And I think about how it is discussed across our country, how we honor the men and women who gave everything for this country, and what is the best way to reflect on that incredible service. Some have talked about that those men and women have signed a check paid to everything to life, that they give their life for this country. But many of the men and women who have done that are too young to even sign a check. So I think the most important way to think about it, or what helps me, next week at Arlington High, right on Pierce Field, the graduates of Arlington High will graduate, and they will go off and live incredibly successful lives. And we look forward to all of their successes and everything they do to make Arlington proud. Many of the individuals who did not come home graduated from a high school across this country. Some didn't even graduate. Think about that. These are kids sacrificing everything, their family's happiness, their future happiness, all of the successes that they have and could have, they put on hold for one important reason. They believe that their sacrifice to this country is worth it, that they're willing to put their lives on the line to fight for that fundamental belief that it's worth fighting for, that it is worth fighting for our freedoms. Now, to peel back the onion on that a little bit, many of our veterans, many of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice would say, you know, they're fighting for their siblings and their family and their friends. But it's also important to remember this. They are fighting, they fought, and they died for complete strangers. Individuals they have never and will never meet. It's an unbelievable sacrifice. Not only they're sacrificing their lives, but they're sacrificing their future happiness, their family's future happiness. It is incredibly sobering, but also incredibly, incredibly important to remember and reflect in what makes today a little different than Veterans Day and the days throughout the year where we support our men and women who come back. And because during this conflict that's currently happening, we have lost at least 13 men and women, it is incredibly incumbent upon all of us to reflect on that service and to remember the men and women who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Garbali will be followed by David Rogers, our state representative from the 24th Middlesex District.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you on this Memorial Day, and I too want to extend my welcome to our new Veteran Service Officer, Robert Donovan. Thank you for your service. Thank the Skyline Chorus, and of course the police and fire and the Honor Guard, and the Veterans Council for all your work. And all the veterans are here, and particularly recognizing Gold Star families that are here. And so I've told a story here before a couple years ago, I'll share it again. I think it bears repeating, and as Representative Garbely said, you know, we have other days, Armed Forces Day, obviously Veterans Day, to honor all who serve, but Memorial Day is really special. It's for those who died, who gave up their lives in service of their country. And there's a story of, I know a few people, sadly, that lost their lives. And one is a gentleman, a doctor, John Pryor. And my mom was once in a very severe car accident. So she was 48 days in the hospital, in the intensive care unit. And it was bad enough that when the ambulance showed up, they realized we cannot put her in an ambulance, and they called in a helicopter. It was one of those kind of accidents that she had to be medevaced and was severely injured. She lived, but she was in intensive care for 48 days, and I was there most of those days visiting, and I got to know the trauma surgeon that saved her life, John. And John was, an amazing guy, Dr. John Pryor. He was board certified in 3 areas of medicine. I don't know if there are any doctors here, but apparently this is sort of mind-boggling. And all the other doctors, the nurses, the medical specialists, they talked almost reverentially about him. They really looked up to him. He was, I think there were some folks here who were at the Bruce Springsteen show last night. This guy was the Bruce Springsteen of trauma surgery. I mean, he was literally revered. And the cool thing about him is because doctors go on rounds, and I was there all 48 days or almost all, I got to know him. Like, he would stop and chat. He'd give us updates on my mom's prognosis and how she was doing. And despite his monumental accomplishments, he was the most down-to-earth, the nicest guy. And he talked also about, he said, we have a war on our streets. This was in a major city hospital, and he comforted our family. I'm one of 7 kids, and all of the children were there off and on throughout this. And he comforted our family. He's an incredible, skillful surgeon. He was also in the Army and deployed to Iraq. While in Iraq, nowadays, unlike Vietnam and some other conflicts, the surgical units are right up near the action, right up near the front lines to save more lives. So he was deployed to right at the front line, and sadly, artillery went off, and he was killed. He left behind 3 young children and a wife, and I just think of the quality and the character of the people that are willing to step up and serve. Think of this guy who's, literally an elite surgeon, I'm sure had a very comfortable life here in America, and yet was willing to do the ultimate giving of himself to help others, to deploy to a very dangerous job, despite having a comfortable life here. And so I think for me, on Memorial Day, I reflect on Dr. John Pryor and how he helped save my mom's life, and I'm sure saved many, many other lives, and ultimately gave his own. And so this Memorial Day, I'll be thinking of him and the many others who gave their lives in service of our country, and thank you.
Thank you. Representative Rogers will be followed by Jim Feeney, Arlington Town Manager.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning to everyone here this morning and those watching via ACMi at home. And thanks to everyone who makes this day possible each year. I know a lot of work goes into it, and you deserve all the credit. This is the aptly named Robbins Memorial Town Hall. It was dedicated 1 month shy of 112 years ago in the memory of Amos Robbins, the father of Winfield Robbins, whose estate provided the funds for the construction of this building. So today in this hall, this Memorial Hall, on this sacred morning, we gather merely not out of tradition, but out of obligation, an obligation to remember. And that obligation is woven into the very name of this town. In 1867, our community changed its name from West Cambridge to Arlington. At times, when our budget gets really tight, I have joked that I wonder if we could go back to being an enclave of Cambridge to solve our problems. But of course, that would ignore why our name was changed in the first place, to honor the heroes buried at Arlington's National Cemetery. Think about that. Our predecessors didn't just attend a ceremony or fly a flag for the day. They renamed their home. They said, with one permanent act, we will not forget. And that decision has echoed through every generation since becoming a part of our collective identity here in Arlington. And Arlington has kept that promise in stone and in the very seal it carries. We will see constant reminders on our procession today of Arlington's commitment to memorials, and I am proud to work for a community that continues to take every opportunity to solidify our remembrance for generations to come. In our old burying ground, where we'll head next, stands a 19-foot-tall obelisk honoring those killed right here on the very first day of the American Revolution. Among them, Jason Russell, who died defending his own house, along with 11 other patriots who are all buried together. That obelisk has stood sentinel over this town for well over 100 years. It is the image on our town's seal. It's carried on every official document. It lives on our website and is carried on this lapel pin here, as if to say, we remember where we came from and who paid for it. More recently, the old burying ground has seen the addition of a memorial to fallen British soldiers and a new monument to then Monotony's enslaved and free persons of color, gone, but certainly not forgotten. Before that, in 2016, Mount Pleasant Cemetery became the home to a new memorial honoring those fallen during the global war on terror. And just last year, we unveiled the new Foot of the Rocks Memorial Park in an effort to continue telling our revolutionary story to the next generation. And then we'll find our way to the corner of Mass Ave and Broadway. There is our 42-foot Soldiers and Sailors Monument, which bears the names of 33 Arlingtonians who gave their lives in the Civil War. This, as we heard, is also the site of an upcoming project to transform Veterans Memorial Park into a more inclusive, accessible, and welcoming space for all to come pay their respect to Arlington's veterans and fallen heroes. We aim with that project to preserve the printed names of Arlingtonians who fought and those who fell across every conflict this nation has ever known. Every war, every generation, their names preserved. So from the Minutemen of 1775 to the trenches of Europe, to the jungles of Vietnam, and to the deserts of the Middle East, Arlington's sons and daughters have answered that call. And Arlington has answered back in the only way a community truly can, by refusing to let them be forgotten. So today, as we walk out of this memorial town hall, I ask you to remember one thing. This is a day about those who are not here, those who should be here, perhaps enjoying a hot dog or a burger this afternoon, but are not because they sacrificed, choosing something much harder and much greater. Arlington renamed itself for them. Arlington etched their names in stone. Arlington built monuments to them, and we will continue to do so because Arlington never forgets. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Town Manager Feeney, and thank you again to all of our public officials here with us today. At this time, we will have the Boston Skyline Chorus perform Let Freedom Ring. Thank you. Select Board Chair Hurd, Representative Garbali, Representative Rogers, Town Manager Feeney, for your leadership and for joining this community in remembrance today. I would also like to recognize and thank everyone in attendance this morning, including Chief Flaherty, Chief Kelly, our public servants, community leaders, Gold Star family member Mrs. Joan Connors, veterans, military families, and all those gathered here to honor the spirit of Memorial Day. I am honored to be here today with all of you on my first Memorial Day as Arlington's Director of Veteran Services, because in just a few short months in this position, I've come to realize how deeply Memorial Day matters here in Arlington. And I will be honest in saying that the planning of Memorial Day, of my first Memorial Day here, has probably brought out every perfectionist and overthinking tendency I carried with me out of the Army. My colleagues can attest to that. But for those I have not yet had the opportunity to meet, my name is Robert Donovan, and before coming to Arlington, I spent nearly 13 years serving in the United States Army, including 4 years deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. Following my retirement from the Army in 2018, I obtained my Master's of Social Work from Simmons University and have dedicated my entire life to serving the unique needs of veterans and their families. Like many veterans, military service shaped not only my career, but the course of my life. So it is truly an honor to now continue the mission to serve here in Arlington. And standing here today, one thing has become very clear to me. Memorial Day asks something difficult of all of us. It asks us to remember, not just the uniforms, not just the ceremonies, but the human lives behind them. Here in Arlington, once Menotomy, we stand on sacred historical ground. These streets and fields carry the memory of ordinary people who lived ordinary lives until history called them to extraordinary sacrifice. April 19th, 1775, a date woven into the identity of this community. Long before Arlington became the town we know today, this community witnessed some of the fiercest and bloodiest fighting on the first day of the American Revolution. Lives were forever changed here. Not only soldiers, but families, neighbors, women, children, who suddenly found war at their doorstep. And those who died here did not just die as symbols in the name of freedom, but as human beings, sons, brothers, husbands, fathers, friends, people with futures, and loved ones waiting for them at home. And across generations, that same story has continued, from Lexington and Concord to Gettysburg to Normandy to Korea to Vietnam to Iraq and Afghanistan to the current conflicts today in the greater Middle East. Every name we remember was a person with a full life behind it. That is what Memorial Day calls us to honor. Not only the manner in which somebody died, but the fullness of how they lived. Over the past 5 years, working as a clinical social worker with service members, veterans, and their families, I've spent time sitting with people during some of the hardest moments they will ever endure. And one thing I have learned is that grief comes down to people. Grief is deeply personal. It lives in memories and routines and empty seats at tables and songs and holidays and the stories we tell over and over because we are afraid that someday the stories themselves might disappear. And yet those same memories, painful as they can be sometimes, are also life-giving. To grieve someone deeply is to acknowledge that their life mattered deeply. There is something profoundly human and profoundly sacred in that. Today, Memorial Day brings many forms of grief together in one shared space. For some, this day carries the memory of a fellow service member. For others, it is a parent, spouse, child, or friend. For some, grief is fresh. For others, it is decades old and still walks quietly beside them. But what makes remembrance bearable is that we do not carry it alone. We carry it together. That is the meaning of community. And perhaps that is why gatherings like this matter so much. We stand here among memorials and graves, among the stories of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, while also carrying remembrance for the people in our own lives who we have laid to rest over the years. The thread of history stretches from these sacred grounds to us today. It lives in every family story, every folded flag, every photograph kept in a drawer, every name spoken aloud so it will not be forgotten. Over these past several weeks, I've helped place flags at the graves of veterans throughout Arlington, and I have found myself reflecting deeply on the history of this community. Beginning on the first Saturday in May and continuing each Saturday since, I've spent time walking through Arlington cemeteries, stopping at the resting places of veterans from generation after generation of service. And I'll be honest, it has stayed with me. Driving through other communities across Massachusetts, I have rarely seen the number of flags that you see here in Arlington. Row after row, section after section, names stretching across centuries of service and sacrifice. And I think that says something important about this community. It speaks not only to Arlington's history, but to its values, to a culture that understands service. Service to country, service to community, service to one another. Because over time, these acts of service build something larger than ourselves. They build humility, they build honor, they build connection, and ultimately, they build love for the community and for the people beside us. And standing among those graves, surrounded by generations of remembrance, I was reminded that Memorial Day is not only about honoring the fallen, it is about continuing the responsibility they left behind, to care for one another, to remain connected to one another, and to never allow sacrifice to become forgotten history. In my own military experience, there are names I carry with me always. Staff Sergeant Daniel Merriweather, Specialist Jeffrey Whitsett, Specialist Brandon Owens, fallen comrades, Logar Province, Afghanistan. Their stories, who I have carried with me ever since. And over the years, I've also carried the memory of others who survived war only to continue fighting battles long after they came home. Some carried wounds that could not be seen. Others carried wounds that could not. And their loss reminds us that the impact of war does not always end on the battlefield. It continues in the lives of veterans, families, friends, and communities long after the uniform comes off. So we remember they were human beings. And what stays with us over time is not only the pain of the loss, but the gratitude for having known them at all. Because remembrance is an act of love, and love leaves a permanent mark on all of us. As Arlington's Director of Veteran Services, I've already come to appreciate something deeply moving about this work. Service does not end when the uniform comes off. Service continues in how we care for one another, how we support grieving families, how we check on neighbors, how we preserve memory, how we tell stories, how we make sure no one feels forgotten. Especially in a community like Arlington, where history is not distant, it's alive all around us. We inherit a responsibility not only to remember sacrifice, but to remain connected to one another through it, to honor grief, to honor service, to honor humanity itself. Because Memorial Day, again, is not only about death, it's about life. It's about the lives that change history, the lives that shaped families, the lives that made us who we are, the lives whose impact continues long after they're gone. And perhaps the greatest tribute we can offer those as we remember this today is to live in a way that carries forth their courage, their compassion, their sense of duty, their love for others, and their belief that people matter. Today, we pause together as a community. We remember those who never made it home. We honor the families who carried that loss forward through generations. And we honor the people in our own lives whose absence still shapes us. And the stories we tell and the values they gave us, and the laughter we still remember, and the moments we still wish we could share with them one more time. And perhaps that is what remembrance truly is, not simply looking backward with sadness, but carrying forward the lives of those who mattered to us. Here in Arlington, on these historic and sacred grounds, we are reminded that history is not only written in monuments or dates, but it is written in these human lives, in sacrifice, in service, in love, and in memory. So today, may we speak their names, may we tell their stories, may we live in ways worthy of sacrifices that came before us, and may we never forget. The greatest honor we can give the fallen is not only our remembrance, but the way we care for one another while we're still here. Thank you. And before I turn it over to the Boston Skyline Chorus, if there's any veterans or active duty service members in the audience, would you please stand? Thank you. And at this time, we will have the Boston Skyline Chorus perform the Armed Forces Medley.
Shall
Thank you so much. And thank you again for all of you joining today in this observance of Memorial Day. Before we conclude this portion of our ceremony with our closing song from the Boston Skyline Chorus and the retiring of the colors, I would like to briefly outline the remainder of today's program, which is also included in your printed program. Following our adjournment here at Town Hall, we invite all who are able to join us as we proceed across the Town Hall garden to the old burying ground behind First Parish Church. There we will spend approximately 15 minutes honoring and decorating several historical memorials, including the Revolutionary War Monument, the gravesite of Reverend Samuel Abbott Smith, Union Army chaplain, and the memorial stone dedicated to the enslaved and free people of color whose lives, service, and sacrifices left a lasting mark on both our nation and the cause of freedom. Afterwards, participants will assemble between First Parish Church and the Robbins Library for a procession to Mount Pleasant Cemetery. At the cemetery, we will continue our observance by placing wreaths and honors at a number of memorial sites dedicated to veterans and fallen service members. For those with mobility concerns, a van will be available directly in front of Town Hall to provide transportation to each location along the route. Please be advised that access to the old burying ground includes uneven and potentially difficult terrain. If mobility is a concern, I would strongly encourage remaining near the entrance area or utilizing the van transportation rather than walking down into the grounds themselves. The van will accompany the procession to Mount Pleasant as well, ensuring that everyone who wishes to participate may do so as comfortably and safely as possible. I would like to now invite Father Mark Bishop back up to the podium to close the Town Hall portion of our ceremony with the benediction.
Let us be at prayer. Lord God, Almighty Father, creator of mankind and author of peace, as we are ever mindful of the cost paid for the liberty we possess, we ask you to bless the members of our armed forces. Give them courage, hope, and strength. May they ever experience your firm support, gentle love, and compassionate healing. Be their power and protector, leading them from darkness to light. To you be all glory, honor, and praise now and forever. Amen.
And I would like to now invite the Boston Skyline Chorus to perform our closing song, America the Beautiful.
Majesties above.
Thank you. Last but not least, a special thanks goes out to the Arlington Police Department Honor Guard, Arlington Fire Department Honor Guard, Boston Skyline Chorus, Menotomy Minutemen, Joel Kaiser, the bugler, who will join us at Mount Pleasant Cemetery, and the citizen volunteers who placed flags on graves at Mount Pleasant Cemetery and St. Paul's Cemetery over the past 4 weekends, including Bill McCarthy, who really took on St. Paul's once again on his own this year. There was some help from Bill Hayner and the Arlington High School Workplace Program as well, but special thanks to Bill McCarthy. The Arlington High School Workplace Program students, Arlington Girl Scouts, American Legion Post 39, and Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 1775. And at this time, I would call on the combined Arlington Police and Fire Honor Guards to retire the colors. Please rise.